Talk Short Track Racing. Back with me this week, I have Frank Cryer.
I'm back.
Welcome. It's been a few weeks.
It has. Actually, I got to remember how to do this again.
I know. I said at least you remember what to do with your hands. We're not doing anything wild, so.
I said, you guys had professionals doing it for the last couple weeks, all's gone, and now you're back down to the poverty level of the podcast. You got me back.
Well, Jake's not feeling the best today. We have your buddy, Rich Bickle, on.
Yep,
so
Rich is coming on. It'll be fun.
We had to pull you in. Best backup
We'll,
option.
we'll just be bullshitting about like shit that's going wrong in racing, but
Uh-oh.
no, it'll be good. It'll be fun having Rich on. He's got such good history
Yeah.
in the sport all the way from the beginning. Of course, he's from up by where I'm from, so
Yeah.
that it'll be fun. And then kind of the road he took to get to where he got to, and then still doing it. A lot of guys, I mean, they're hanging around, but he's physically still doing it. But no
Yeah.
different Johnny Benson. I mean, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. He's still doing it too.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I'm excited to learn more about how he got started and what keeps him going, too.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it'll be good. But yeah, no, we just been busy getting stuff done and
Yeah.
getting stuff done here on the race ranch, trying to get our super mod ready. I guess a couple weeks we'll be running that at Berlin.
Yeah. It's going to be a busy month of July. It's crazy to believe that it's already almost July.
I know. I say that like, it was neat. We took out Nick's car. We went testing, but got the new Pro done. So finally in the shop, the cars are finished. It's like finished to go race,
Yeah.
So well needed in our shop. But yeah, no, it's we're looking forward to this show for sure. But what
Yeah.
we have? Not much going on. Last
None.
couple
No. not
couple
a
short
ton
track race at ASA race up at Norway, Michigan. They
Yeah.
ran
Yeah,
up there.
I forgot about that.
That's up in the UP. A lot of people don't know that when they say Michigan, there's still another part. I call it an island up there, but it's a neat place. That's it's like a fairground.
Okay.
And I remember going there years ago. They have this fair race up there, and it's neat because here's the track and here's a Ferris wheel and all the stuff going on. And
That's really
but
cool.
they crank in the people there. There's not much going on up there, so I know they must have done well crowd wise. But,
Yeah.
But the ASA Midwest Tour, and then, of course that's Dalton Zier's place, and he won that race up there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, that's kind of all. I mean, there was probably
Some short local stuff.
they canceled everything.
Yeah. Up
The
in
heat wave.
Wisconsin and Michigan, right?
Yeah, I mean, what is it, 91 degrees up here? And last week we were testing it was 97.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pussies.
We were sweating. It was hot.
It was hotter than shit out there.
It
I'll
was so
tell you.
bad.
I was about to die. Little fat guy like me, man. That's probably why my face is all red.
I have one of those little Milwaukee fans that I carry around. I'm sure you saw
Yeah, I
it.
seen you. It was like,
And we
I
walked
thought
up
you
to
stole
get-
it. But
Walking up to get our armbands, everyone's staring at me, and I'm like, I felt like I had something wrong with me, and I'm like, it's just a fan.
no
But
one,
it-
no
he's so
one
smart.
was in a rush to do anything.
No.
Because the
It's
guy
too
kept
hot.
calling the classes when the racing got started. I mean, we were up testing no matter what,
Yeah.
and we just went on a race day. So, but like everyone that was there it was comical because no one was everybody had a bottle of water.
Yep.
No one was moving fast. I get it. I mean, it was hot. It was
It was
pretty
miserably
warm.
hot, and
Yeah.
there were no clouds until
Yeah,
later
no
in the
wind,
day.
no
Yeah.
breeze. Yeah, you
So,
didn't have to worry about anybody's tent blowing away.
I wish I was with the Michigan people. I mean, they didn't have to sweat like that. People care about them up there. They
Yeah.
just say, "You guys live in hell, so have fun."
87 degrees of them, they're about to die. So, but yeah, no, it was so much going. I mean, there's racing throughout the country. A lot of times we have stuff that we talk about, but up there, it was just I think Jefferson canceled, Dell's canceled. I think lacrosse race. I seen Skylar Holzhausen won up lacrosse, so they did race on Saturday. But and then I think Toma Speedway,
Okay.
Toma Sparta Speedway race. But yeah, pretty much everybody else was canceled for the
Wow.
weekend just because of the heat wave. But
Hopefully, since we're headed up there, hopefully the heat is getting out of its system up there, and we can cool down.
I seen 70s and low 80s.
Okay.
So that's kind of what I seen, and it could be wrong, but
Hopefully, I mean, I'd even take a little bit cooler than that. Give
Yeah.
us the 60s and 70s at this point.
I've turned into a pussy because 84 degrees to me, I had to put the window up. It was a little chilly. Like I'll never
I'm
forget.
sure
I love
all
the
your
shop. Like,
Wisconsin people are rolling their eyes
yeah,
at you
like
right now.
I'm not kidding you. It's just like, is it? Oh, Kendrick, wind the window up. It's getting a little chilly out. He looks at Dad. It's 84 degrees. We had the wind blowing in the
Sweater
vehicle.
weather.
I said, and I got insulation, so I don't know what the hell my problem was. Must be sick. But yeah, so Rich is going to be on tonight.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. Um, what's this, our
19th episode.
19th episode since we started this thing, and
Yeah.
it's been awesome. I mean, keep subscribing, like us, what we're doing. I mean,
Yeah.
we're getting thousands of followers. I mean, it's cool.
Yeah, it's
where this
definitely
is headed,
growing, and just the production that Alec has been able to put together. Like tonight,
Yeah.
we've got camera.
a camera over here. This one died.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
there we
it's
go.
a
I'm
different
going.
angle.
Ooh. Get the GTR going on here.
But yeah, it's been a long.
Yeah. No, we're better than two guys in a GoPro that we were doing at the beginning, but.
Two guys.
But yeah, no, I think in a little bit here we're going to get ready to. Anything else that you want to talk about?
I mean, this coming weekend we have Five Flags. The Supers are racing at Five Flags this weekend. Getting ready for the Snowball Derby. That's going to be here before.
Is that an ASA tour race?
I believe so, or
yeah,
it
'cause
might just be. I guess it's ASA/Blizzard.
Oh, okay. Because I didn't know this. The Southern
Southern
Super
Super
Series. I was
Series.
wondering if it
There we
is my. Man, I hope they get these car counts raised up a little bit and
Yeah.
get things going. ASA is. I always think the history of ASA. Like the history of it. Everything has always not worked out in the long run.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times it's turned over, and their packages I feel like are right. They got the right package now. I mean, you're going to a local racetrack, grabbing the local cars, but right now in the super late model division, it's hard to get locals. There is nobody running a weekly, very little tracks anymore running weekly late super lates.
Yeah, and I mean, we have Auburndale who's doing it.
Yeah.
Not weekly, but they
Yeah.
do alternate once a month or so.
Yeah.
They have late models, but like
And they do good.
Yeah.
And Rex puts on.
A really.
A lot of people don't know. I mean, Auburndale puts on a pretty damn good show.
Yeah. Week
They do.
after week.
Yeah.
Pretty much no matter what's racing.
Yeah.
But then you have tracks like, I hate to say it, my home track where I grew up, New Smyrna.
Yeah.
They had I can't remember if it was pros or supers this weekend, but they had 6 cars.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's
not
a
good.
half mile. You can't like
Half miles always struggled with the.
because it's so much on your car weekly. Like
Yeah.
I think it's almost better for those bigger tracks to do kind of like what Five Flags does, where it's a big race, not every month,
Yeah.
but a big race, a bigger purse. I feel like that's when you're going to find a little bit more success because it is so hard on the car.
Yeah.
If you do wreck, you're clipping the car.
Yeah.
Especially these late models and stuff. So I feel like
Now,
things like that could change and help the series, but there's a lot that.
see, I think that's what happened to the super late model, even back home. So where Wisconsin is still successful is their pro late model, which used to be their limited late model, was so limited. It didn't have bump stops. It had non-adjustable shocks. There were so many things, 3-link suspension. I mean, they did things. They run an 8-inch tire, which is cheaper. They did things to kind of grab onto, like just cost effective. But that's what it was. It was limited to the
Yeah.
super. But now the super is not running weekly. So that's their primary weekly race program, which still does good. I
Yeah.
mean, the tracks are still bringing in the pro late model is done well up there, where the pro down here, it's just no different a super. In fact, I've said this on our podcast so many times. It's like, here's a crate motor. This crate motor comes in, it's $8,000 from Chevy or wherever you're getting it from. Ford's a little bit more. And then they take it to an engine builder and build it,
Yeah.
which makes no freaking sense.
Yeah. It's just more money.
And so then you might as well just call it a super late model, a super crate,
Yeah.
or whatever you want to call it. But, that's where I think, Ricky, with that whole,
his
sportsman
engine build.
cars,
Oh yeah.
that class with the 602s, stock 602s, that whole deal there, I think I just feel like that's been pretty successful.
Yeah, and
They
it's been
ta- you know-
successful year over year for the
Yeah.
past several years. Even
Yeah.
before Ricky had it, it was
Yeah.
a successful
kind of Steve, wasn't it Steve Dorr started
Yeah.
that? Yeah, Steve
Yeah.
did a good job. Like I've talked to Steve a few times about that. Steve gets it. He's in the business,
Yeah.
right? And if racing struggles, his business struggles.
Struggles. Yeah.
So in his mind, you listen to the Wayne Lensings, the Steve Doors, the Gene Colemans. You list them guys that sell parts.
Mm-hmm.
They know what's what cost and what, and I don't know, and it's not solely to blame on all that either, promoters and all that. It isn't. We're handheld devices is our entertainment anymore,
Yeah.
and it is tough. Like Jeff Striegel up at Berlin, I've said this. He's a true life promoter that chases each event, and I think he separates each event and
Yeah.
creates.
It has its own event.
Yeah.
It's not a weekly racing series.
Yeah.
It is each weekly racing is its event.
And I think that's what's missing in promotion at a lot of these other tracks.
Yeah.
And I think what happens when they bring somebody in, like let's say they're bringing a tour, they're expecting, like, who's really promoting it. I noticed, like, Striegel, when we were there with UAR,
UAR,
yep,
Mm-hmm.
when we were there with Ricky and that group, they both promoted it.
Yeah.
So Berlin promoted it, and it was very well promoted.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Striegel goes.
And it's nice because they, like the tracks, especially when you have promoters like Ricky coming into
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
Ricky's following is not necessarily the track's following. So the track has more of an influence on their local providers and fans, whereas Ricky can get more, per se, streaming or one-off fans coming in that follow Ricky, not necessarily the track. So it's really, I think it's really cool when they work together
It's
like
like
that.
a shared event.
Yeah.
But I guess we're getting into commercials here. We're gonna at 7:15. We're gonna bring Rich on, and so enough our BS talk. Just get Rich will be a lot more fun talking about than us. Yeah. So after these messages, we'll be right back, and we'll have Rich on. And see where
it goes.
Yeah. Be awesome.
Hi, my name is Joe Constance with Joe's Racing Products. My company has been producing high-quality racing components in the USA for over 30 years. We know the commitment and determination it takes to win races because we race too. We're determined to produce quality products that can help you get to the finish line first. Ask your dealer for Joe's Racing Products or visit us online at joesracing.com.
Buying or selling a home? It's more than a transaction, it's a strategy. I'm Amy Lynn, and I bring clarity, confidence, and results to your real estate journey. Whether you're searching for the perfect place to call home or preparing to list your home for top dollar, I've got you covered. With smart marketing, strong negotiation, and a network you can trust, I don't just help clients close, I help them win. Let's make your next move the right one.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Short Track Racing. On the phone with us now, we have the legendary short track racer from Wisconsin. He is a 4-time Slinger Nationals champion, as well as a 5-time Snowball Derby winner. Welcome, Rich Bickle.
Well, great to be here.
Well, thanks, buddy, for coming on.
Well, we kind of grew up together in to a point, so it's like anytime I can do anything for it's been around Wisconsin. I love doing it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I I said a lot of times, like when we started this podcast, we were just talking. This is our 19th podcast, and I was telling you, Rich, the other day, like I can't believe where it's going. But like I said, a lot of times, people are, where short track racing is, people are searching for, hey, what's going on versus just going to the track and having the history of it. And you're definitely a big part of the history of it, and everything that you've done. And then, like I said, we were talking, like the biggest thing I wanted to let people know is, tell your story a little bit, how you got started with your family, that type thing, and kind of like right up the road, like what you did and where we are at now. But so biggest thing I just wanted you start out, tell your little story.
Well, I guess it started in 1961. My mom said I was a month old when she first took me to the racetrack, and I was on her hip, and that kind of, started the process. My dad raced 3 nights a week, and I suppose when you got to be 3 or 4, you kind of understood what was going on, and I was one of those kids that liked to raise little hell, and we always had races around the men's bathroom, and
Yep.
except when the races were on, we would. Them guys would still, a lot of them would still keep racing, run around the bathroom, have heat races and stuff like that. But I'd go watch the races. I was pretty determined to sit there and watch what was going on. So I always tell people that I watched so many races and so many laps, and that I grew up in the greatest era and the greatest area in the United States. That I kind of told myself I knew I'd drive a race car before I even sat in one. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how it started, and it's amazing to think that growing up in a racing family that my dad did fairly well. He won some championships and things like that, but he never traveled a whole lot. And I guess my biggest thing is that once I got going, I wanted to go everywhere, and it's kind of what we did. So I've raced at so many different racetracks. It's crazy.
It's funny you say that. Like you think of when we were younger and we started racing, and then we traveled. But sometimes when you this is what happened to me too, Rich. Like when I traveled, then you couldn't wait to get home. And you finally realize our state of Wisconsin is a really good place to race. But sometimes you have to go get your feet wet somewhere else. And I mean, not saying that there's not great races out there, for sure is. I mean, like we're down in Florida right now with Kendrick, but like there's some really neat tracks down here. But Wisconsin, people don't realize how great of a state that is and how many asphalt tracks we have. And it's sad that a lot of them closed up though too. We were lucky.
Well, I mean, I've told everybody that, as far as I'm concerned, of the 50 greatest short track asphalt racers in the United States, 40 of them lived in Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan, Ohio, Indiana. I'll throw a few in from down south, Ridley and Blue, things like that, Larry Phillips. But I mean, there was a reason why Mark Martin and Rusty Wallace come up here to learn how to race.
Yeah.
And they did very well by learning it because they got taught by the best, just like I did. My situation was, I didn't have $5, but I remember, buying Joe Shear and Trickle's left front tires, and my dad had some old wheels they made way back in the day that had really heavy lips on them, and you could blow them up to 100 pounds on them, set for a week and stretch, so you could make right side tires out of them. And there's so many crazy stories. I mean, we could talk for 5 hours probably, but to be able to be part of that, and get to be friends with a lot of the guys, and Trickle was, he was the hero for everybody. I mean, and end up being a great friend and a mentor in the beginning, because I could ask him anything, and he was kind of an open book. And because his motto was always, if I make you faster, it makes me have to be faster to outrun you. And it's kind of ironic is, I'm sure everybody probably would think that my first half-mile feature one would have been at Oregon or Capital.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. It's at Kaukauna in 85. And that night, I asked Dick, I said, well, what about this, and this? And he goes, well, kid, he said, you've been out running here a little bit lately. You passed the Dick Trickle School race. And I turned on and said, oh, my God. I was stunned because I thought, man, God told me I was worthy. And I won that night. and it's it's kind of crazy to think about it that way, but and just to go on from there, it was just so many stories and so many people helping you and things like that, and the story of my first race car and things like that. I mean, it's just so much time, and 49 years later, here we are talking about it.
Well, and I look at it like that's the part that I love the story of it. I got to tell you this. I for some reason I got into watching old races on YouTube. There's these people that put these old races out, and I was
Hmm.
watching a race that you won. And I want to say I think it was Rockford actually. Rockford had a race and you won it, and I can't even remember what year it was, but I think it was around the 80s if I remember right. And I'm sure you run a pile of races at Rockford in the 80s, but and then they had a. Do you remember like a pit stop competition where they made a big deal out of it? I never knew
Oh,
that.
they had that every year.
Yeah, yeah, and it was
Yeah.
big. Like I was watching on YouTube. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking like a 30-second pit stop one.
Yeah, yeah. Back at it. But
That's changing two tires.
yeah, all the teams were there with their crew shirts on, and it was a big deal. But
Oh yeah.
then you take that and you think of, hey, where did that step? Where did that step at Rockford Speedway in the future go? In the future of even NASCAR, right? And a lot of them guys have names. I mean, man, there were some pretty cool people. Because the announcer was introducing people, crew guys. I mean, John Knaus was there. I like John, and then like Chad, and all them guys were there. And that was neat to see.
Well, I mean, you look back at it. So I tell everybody that all the racetracks around were racetracks, but when you went to Rockford Speedway, that was Disneyland. I mean, they had playgrounds for the kids. They did everything at intermission. I mean, Udiri and Mod Dairy were so far ahead of the game. NASCAR used Udiri, his promotional ideas for years.
Yeah.
And I was very fortunate to grow up there. My dad raced her for quite a few years, and the Deary kids and me were all kind of the same age, and we're all, they worked the popcorn stand, and I was run around the playgrounds, and I told everybody, I think I won everything that they ever had there at intermission. They had a bowling ball throw, a bicycle race, a money grab, a demolition derby. I mean, my first rock concert was there in 1976, 40,000 people. Ted Nugent was a headliner, 11 more bands besides him. I mean, it was like, when that place closed, I mean, it's like, man, it was hard.
Yeah, it
Breaks
your heart.
That was like,
Yeah,
it was terrible.
yeah, breaks your heart.
That's one of the reasons why I unretired for the third time,
Yeah,
because I had to go back and run that last race.
yeah.
It was mandatory.
Yeah, and as we were kind of talking a little bit earlier, in your career, you've ran so many different tracks, and you started early on kind of picking several different tracks that you were going to compete at. What was the decision process at, like, deciding which tracks and how long you were going to stay loyal to those specific tracks?
Well, it's really ironic. I mean, like in my book, Barnyard to Brickyard, I stole the first car out of a barn, because the family I grew up with in our subdivision, the dad, Augie Picaro, took off on his wife and the three sons with some woman to Colorado. So me and his oldest son went up to the barn and stole his car. We come down the front yard, and we painted like my dad's car, yellow number 5, and went to Jefferson. And I led the first 6 laps of the heat race, and another guy's son that we raced against got underneath me off of turn 2, and then you get loose and hit me in the quarter panel, knocked me off the back straightaway. And before they had the wall there and in the cornfield, and bent the frame in half and broke the roll cage off. And so that car didn't make it very far, but it's like that was the start of it. And I didn't race again that year because I didn't have a car. Well, another guy from Newville, which is right outside Edgerton, the guy was driving for him, owned a marathon station. He had another old Pontiac and hobby stock car, and this guy left, and he says, "Hey, would you want to drive my car?" And so I ended up running, a few more races with him, and that's kind of what started it all. But what people, I'll guarantee, will never know this story is that, and this is in 1976, I think it was. So I'm 15 years old. I'm up to La Crosse, and I'm in the beer stand, and I'm pretty well full. because back then at 15 you're drinking beer and nobody thought nothing of it. And my dad got there and he was hammered, and my dad never was hammered. I mean, he could drink more than God could. And all of a sudden he goes, "You're driving my car tomorrow." Now, lacrosse is a big 5/8 mile racetrack,
Yeah.
and most people would think that, um, from going from Jefferson and a quarter mile from hobby stock to a super late model, I mean, that's like going to Daytona.
Yeah.
And so I thought he was just kidding me, right? So I kept drinking all night. And the next day he said, "I'm hungover. You're driving the race car." And I'm like, "Oh boy." So we practiced, and back then, it was, if you were starting out, you started in the back of the heat race. Well, I'm sitting against the inside wall before my heat's up. The other heat in front of us is up, and I'm sitting right against the start finish line. I hear this big squeal, and I look to my right, and this car's sitting sideways at the start finish line. And all of a sudden, he gets drilled in the door, and they are cutting him out of the car. He got his leg cut off in his Rocky Razor.
Oh yeah.
So here I am, 15 years old, at a track that's, I'm not ready for this, but it's like, okay. And that happens, and I'm like going, "Oh boy, this is nuts." And so, make a long story short, they dropped the green for the heat race. I fell back quite a bit, and I said, "Well, you can do better than this." And I drove back up, and I caught 3 or 4 cars and passed on this, making the feature by 1 spot. And I thought, wow, you can do this. So the next day we had the semi-feature one, and my dad had a 71 Camaro, or 72 or 3, that body style, but he had a Ford, like 69 Mustang hood scoop on it. And the bolts come loose on the right side, and the hood scoop was flopping. They black flagged me leading the semi, and I was madder than hell. But I guess that day I told myself, well, I guess you can do this, and this is what I want to do. And, off we went.
It's nowadays it bums me out, Rich, right? Back when I remember years back too, everywhere when you went to them races, there were semi features and sometimes consies.
Mhm.
And people didn't realize nowadays, because you just pretty much show up and race nowadays. I mean, unless you're going to big shows, but it was uh, it was a big deal to win a semi feature. I remember when I won a semi feature, I thought I won the Daytona 500 just to make the show at
Well,
the times.
in 1980, I ran the Rockford Rules car at Rockford in Lake Geneva. So they ran a Mickey Thompson tire and cast iron exhaust and all that. Well, I didn't have any money to run, but I would run, Friday night at Madison, and I'd run, some specials around. Well, that year I won 23 semi features. I won Rookie of the Year at Rockford and Lake Geneva. But what's ironic is I went to Rockford for the Arco show, and I ended up winning the semi there. But the car handled great, but I had no power.
Yeah.
And this guy come out of the grandstands, and he goes, "Man, I outrun John Spear from Janesville." And I mean, this little beat up Nova. I mean, this thing is, this guy's got a super late, and I got a handmade, semi late model car, but it handled. 'Cause my dad, taught me how to, build stuff and make, how to make a race car work. And this guy come out of the stand and said, "Well, how come your car goes around the corner really good, but you have no power?" I said, "Well, I got cast iron exhaust." "Well, what do you need?" I said, "Well, I need headers." "Well, how much are they?" He goes, I don't know. I never bought any. Remember walking over to Joe Shear, and I said, "You got any, headers for a small black Chevy?" He goes, "How much?" I go, $100. And I walk over, told this guy, and I said, "It's $100." And he wrote me a check, and I get, to Joe, and I got a set of headers, and that was my first sponsor. It was Blackhawk Fire Protection out of Janesville, Wisconsin. And you tell people these
We just had
things,
your picture of that car on the thing. That's awesome.
you tell these people these things, and it's like, you're 19 years old. You don't even know how the world's turning.
Yeah.
And somebody come out of the stands and ask you what you needed. And he was my sponsor for Jesus from 80 to 83, I think.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool.
It,
Great
that,
man.
yeah, that is cool. I've had stories like that too in my career. I love that stuff because that's where I feel like my kid will never see what we've seen. I feel like when you said at the beginning of this, we grew up in the greatest time. I feel like that. I feel like the kids now, it's so different. it's so different. And man, I just remember the crowds, how big they were back then too. Just when after race, people came down by literally the hundreds and hundreds coming to your trailer and talking to you, and I mean, and picked up sponsors. People would say, "Hey, I like you. I like watching. Come back next day," like that kind of stuff. And I just remember that like it was yesterday, but it's not so much that anymore. It's so different, but it bums me out.
Yeah, I mean, nobody hangs out, hangs around and goes to the bars. And I mean, I tell people, and we ran 5 nights a week.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the easy part. It was drinking beer till daylight every night, and then going to the track the next day was the hard part.
Yeah.
I remember sleeping in the hauler and going, "Oh my God,"
What did I do to myself?
Gotta get in the car.
but well, but that was just normal. That was just what we did. I mean, it was, you raced hard and drank hard and you raised hell and you had fun
Yeah.
and I mean, it was just, every track had their bar.
Yeah.
After the races, I mean, Kaukauna had the corner there.
Yeah.
White Rock, my buddy Dale Johnson at Oregon, Leo's at Dell's. Everybody had their place. And it just, it was just the ritual. You raced, and you went to you hung on the pits like you said for a while, and you went to the bar. And then when the bar was over, you went to the gas station or the corner, or sat outside and just, you shot the shit till 5 a.m. And just. That's what I told people. The racing wasn't the hard part. It was, staying up all night drinking was the hard part.
And that's where I felt like it built respect, right? You didn't so I raced the Dells when I started my career between Madison and the Dells. That was the two tracks I went to. And Leo's. We always went to Leo's, and Leo's. We went to Leo's, but that's where you built the friendship with your fellow racer, and you respected each other. It always, like I always say, there was a respect in that. It's like, you raced each other different. You raced each other hard, but at the same time, you had respect for each other, and that's nowadays nobody knows anybody.
I tell people that I learned more at the bar than I did at the racetrack, because you only got so much time at the racetrack to ask questions. But if you were smart enough, and then you go to the bar and you start asking questions to the top 15 guys. Well, I shouldn't say that, because like Shear would never be there.
Yeah.
Never hung out with Larry Degens. There's a few guys that didn't party and raise hell, but the ones, Jim Bach and Trickle and them guys, I mean, you go there and you'd ask questions and you sit back and you'd listen and you'd learn. I mean, I learned more. I mean, people have no idea that you just sit back and just, you pipe in once in a great while and you sit back and just listen. And that taught me more than anything. And here's probably one of my greatest stories in my life. 1983, we were at the Slinger Nationals, and we got rained out. And I was working at Dorsey Trailer, welding semi-trailers together, and I had to be to work next morning at 6:15 and work at 2:15 and haul ass back to Slinger and to run for the Nationals. I'm in the bar, and I'm like going, man, I don't want to go back to work. And Johnny Ziegler, which at that time, he was one of the top 5 or 6 guys in the state, he says, "Kid, you're pretty darn good." He says, maybe you should become a full-time race car driver. I'm like, what? And he goes, "Yeah, you're good. You should do this full time." So we sat there and drank beer all night and raced the next day. And I walked in Dorsey Trailer on Thursday, and Frank, my foreman, said, "Where were you yesterday?" And I said, "I quit." He goes, "What?" And I said, "I quit." And that was the last job I ever had. And what's ironic about the story is, so in 2015, me and him got both inducted in the Wisconsin Motorsports Hall of Fame. And he got to talk before I got introduced. And he got up to start telling the story about, I remember driving my 71 Mustang at Columbus. And he said, every time I come around turn 4, I got rocks thrown at me. And I'm sitting there going, uh-oh. I totally forgot about the story. Well, I guess the week before, he must run into my dad, and I was pissed off. And I went out of the stands, went down the back. Columbus had a road and went from the back straightaway off of turns 3 and 4 to the stands. Well, I guess I went down and got in the tall grass off of turn 4. And every time I come by with that convertible, I was winging rocks at him in practice. And I mean, he's telling this story, and I forgot about it. But I remember when I got back up the stands, my mom beat my ass. She was so mad at me. But think about that. Here's a guy that had that back in the back of his mind for all these years.
All them years, yeah.
And he's the guy that told me from 32 years earlier to become a full-time race car driver. And he's the reason why I quit Dorsey Trailer and become a full-time racer. But I was still buy their end rolls aluminum, build bodies, and do everything to keep racing. And
Yep.
but to me, that's one of the coolest stories that are out there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
that's a good one.
That's a good history story there. You do. Every time I've heard you on other podcasts, others like when you talk, stories. You got some pretty good stories. Like I said, and we do up home. It's different. Like I really feel like, because even I've traveled now down here. Like
Yeah.
we went to the Rattler here a couple months ago. We raced over there, and we went to this little honky tonk bar, and so we went practicing. Came back to the honky tonk bar, but then and we met. And it's funny. Who do we meet? Freddie. Freddie Nason, another
Yeah.
another
Well,
Illinois,
yeah.
Wisconsin, just going to the bars and hanging out, and then I think Bilderback was there too, not Michael, but Rich Bilderback was there. Ricky,
Ricky.
he was there, and then we were talking about spindles, which was kind of funny. We were talking about how they change spindles all the time, and I didn't know what they did, Frank. I just changed the king pins, and I go out there and slap one on and try it. It was neat to hear him say that stuff back then, but I feel the same way. I miss them days like that. I mean, we still try to do that because, like I said, the camaraderie and to build friendships. I always say in life, it's about friendships at the end of the day. I mean, that's what it's about, and that's what racing's about. And between the fans, the racers, and I mean, we're not heroes. I mean, we're entertainers. We're not putting out burning buildings, but we're entertaining people. Where the people, they believe in us, and they believe in
Well,
the sport. And
I believe that 99.5% weren't heroes, but other 5% were. I think
Yeah.
Kirk was a hero. Petty was a hero. Earnhardt was a hero.
Dick
People like
Trickle was
that.
mine. That's
You
why I
know,
was
well, he
number
was mine
99.
too.
Yeah.
He was mine, but it's just, you know, you know, you look back at all the stuff and all the people, and it's funny that, here's another crazy story that, me and Tom Reffner got along. I mean, because at Madison in well, back up the story. So I won a championship in '83 at Slinger. In '84, I blew up everything, and I had no money. I was pretty much like, didn't know what to do, and met Carl Wagner at Door's Door, the same bar that Johnny Ziegler told me to become a full-time race car driver. He goes, "If you ever want a motor, come see me." So, if you remember Carl, how big he was, and
Yep.
the only guy I know that could walk in with a small block Chevy on the stand and just carry it in the shop, put it on the ground, and slide underneath the bench.
I tell people that, and they
And
think I'm lying, and it's real. You know?
No, 100% story. I mean, I've seen it 50 times.
Yep.
And so anyway, in '85, I go up there, and I got a bunch of blowed up stuff. I have no money, and maybe by mid-season I can have you some money. And I'll never forget. He looks at my oil pump, and he looks inside it, turns it, and spins the gears. He goes, "What war did this go through?" And he's just, Carl. And so me and my dad were leaving. He goes, "Where are you going?" I went, "Well, we're leaving." "Back up to the door." "Back up to what door?" I said, "Back up to the goddamn door."
Yeah.
"What door? I've never been there before." So we back up the door, and there's a motor on the hoist, and they put it in the back of my dad's truck. He goes, "Now, when I get this thing, your motor done, you get 15 minutes, get that motor back up here. I'm going to blah, 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 And I'm like, I don't know this man from a hill of beans. And he gives me motor, and it ended up being Mike Miller's short block with Dennis Lampman's heads on it. So I put it in the car, and we ended up winning the championship Madison '85, got Wisconsin Driver of the Year. And I remember about mid-season, he got my motor done, and he said, "Get that motor up here." And I said, "I ain't giving this thing back. This thing rips." And he had a special name for me, which I probably shouldn't say right now, but he says, you have less than an hour, I'm going to come down there and I'm going to kill you, right? So anyway, I get that motor. It was even better than the one I had. But so anyway, that year, Reffner would dog time every other week. So back then, if you won the feature, you'd start behind fast qualifier.
Oh.
Well, we'd always be first, second, third in time, and Tom every other week would be first, second, third in time. But the other week he'd start in the front row. Well, time you get to the front, he's long gone. He's got a half a lap on you, So I finally said, Tom, I said, you're one of the greatest that's ever done this. Why are you doing this? I mean, I call him a dog time son of a bitch. And that's what we called it back then, your dog and dime.
Yep.
And so anyway, it must have been three-quarters way through the season. I was fed up with it. And he had his open trailer and that old piece of shit bot car that he had, but looked like it went through 17 wars, but it was fast. And his crew guys pulled in the pits. And before that, I walked to Bob Smelzer. Bob Smelzer run all the pit gates, and he was that guy. And I said, hey, Bob, can you watch this for me? He goes, oh, this ought to be good. Well, anyway, Tom pulls in, and I run around the side and grab 100 pounds of dog food and dump it in Tom's seat. Well, Jerry Guiley and Tom Guiley's dad worked for Tom, and he was pretty stout at the time. I'm like 24 years old, and next thing, there's four of them.
Oh, we lose him. Try him back. Lost Rich. His phone die.
It was working just fine. Just do a commercial break.
Well, we're going to go a commercial break. We'll try to get Rich back on here. He's got a lot to say. This is stuff I love hearing. But so after these messages, we'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Joe Constance with Joe's Racing Products. My company has been producing high-quality racing components in the USA for over 30 years. We know the commitment and determination it takes to win races because we race too. We're determined to produce quality products that can help you get to the finish line first. Ask your dealer for Joe's Racing Products or visit us online at joesracing.com.
Buying or selling a home? It's more than a transaction, it's a strategy. I'm Amy Lynn, and I bring clarity, confidence, and results to your real estate journey. Whether you're searching for the perfect place to call home or preparing to list your home for top dollar, I've got you covered. With smart marketing, strong negotiation, and a network you can trust, I don't just help clients close, I help them win. Let's make your next move the right one.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Short Track Racing. We have Rich back on the phone. We had a short little disconnect there, but he is back and
Time for a commercial break. It was, I guess.
yeah.
But we want to finish up the the dog food story with Raffner throwing the food into the sky. So go ahead, Rich.
Well, I mean, like I said, Bob Smelzer watched the bag, and I dumped 100 pounds of dog food in Tom's car, and Ed Guiley, Tom and Jerry's dad, was pretty stout like my dad back in the day. My dad poured concrete for 11 years, and he was like grabbing Tony Tiger by that tail. But anyway, then 3 or 4 guys and his crew were all fighting and swinging, and Ed had me on the ground, and I'm thinking, oh, this is going to hurt. And Tom said, stop. And he did. And so anyway, we were at Jefferson, Georgia, I think in 87 or 88, and I had a part, and I'm the only one that had a part that Tom needed, and I'm not giving it to you. I'm still madder than hell at you, right? And so anyway, he must have said something to Trickle, so Trickle comes over to me and goes, hey, he's one of us. Give him the damn part. And I did, because Dick said to. And so it's kind of ironic. So when they had the memorial up there at Rudolph for Trickle's deal, and I bought his door off his Mustang, and just before that, I walked over to Tom, and I go, okay, Tom, it's been, what, 40 years. I said, it's time to bury the hatchet. I said, I just want to know one thing. Tell me the AMC story. And oh my God, the man lit up. I mean, he couldn't stop talking. He told me the whole story about that, how the AMC thing come, because the people have no idea that when he ran that AMC there in at them years, I mean,
Yeah.
you couldn't beat the guy. It was just, he was in a different planet.
Yeah.
And I mean, he lit up and just was just like, I mean, we talked and talked and talked, and then it was really funny. He started following me on Facebook, which was ironic, and he would comment all the time. I'm
Yeah.
thinking, going, 40 years ago, I wanted to kill a guy, and then so when he died a year and a half ago or whatever it was, and I actually went to his funeral and with Brian and everybody and Dee and so. But here's another funny story. So in '85, I think it was. Brian won at lacrosse, and I never really raced lacrosse since that first race with my dad for Oktoberfest, because that was always the big party. We have raced all year long. We went to Oktoberfest to just drink beer, and I'm sitting in the stands, and he won the race. I'm like, well, damn, he's young. I said, well, if he can win, I can win. So I went up there in '86, and we won the Oktoberfest race, and I never really raced there much, my whole life, but it's kind of funny how the Ruffner family and me and some of the stories kind of combined, and just kind of ironic how it all fit together.
Yeah, that lacrosse Oktoberfest, I can't wait till we get to that time. And I actually, what we should do, Rich, is have you back on right around that time, because I think we're going to do it live. I want to do it live up there at that lacrosse on Wednesday, because we do that practice Wednesday anyway. Then we could do a live, live out for Oktoberfest. But the people in the country don't realize that's our Super Bowl. And like, I've been to the Snowball Derby. It's big. I've been to a lot of bigger races, but man, it's not, up there is just so different. It's just, with the barns and the beer tents and all the camper people that are partying. It's a fun time. And we all know, right? We look forward to that every year. Every year I look forward to that. It's like
It's
1 week vacation.
It was always the party of the century, I mean, Rockford was big, Rockford was the, to me, the race that, that was like the pinnacle for me.
Yeah. Short track nationals.
Out all the racetracks that I raced at, Rockford was always my favorite. And I could never win that race. It was just like in '88 we had it won, and something happened. I got spun out with plenty to go, and '85 race 6 I had a shot at it, and just never could win. So I think it's '89 that Mike Garvey was on my bumper, and we ended up winning the race. And I got out of the race car, and I went over to the side of the racetrack and got down and took a bite out of the racetrack and chewed it up and spit it out. And I said, this place has chewed me up so many times. I could win everything there in the world. I won everything you could possibly win there, but I could never win the big race. And we finally did, and that was pretty cool. And then to win it again 24 years later in my first car that I built at Concord, North Carolina at RBR, was pretty special too.
Yeah. I was going to say that you were talking a little bit like people, like you knew Dale Earnhardt and how you met Dale Earnhardt. I'd love to tell that story.
Well, in 80, I think it was 88, 88 or 89. I was 88. He come up here, come to Slinger, and back then you had to run a bunch of rear brake in the car because always had a brake push because everybody had big calipers and all that, and I mean, the first thing I did was get him screwed all the way to rear brake, and he'd go from there. And I was out there watching him, thinking, well, here's Dale Earnhardt. First time I ever seen him, or didn't know, never seen him race before, besides, on TV. And so he was horrible. I walked over to him, and I finally go, I'm such and such, and I'm, kind of track champion, and I run good here. And I said, if you put some rear brake in your car, you got a brake push really bad, and put some rear brake in your car, it'll help you. Well, how do you do that? And I'm looking at him going, you're Dale Earnhardt, and you don't know me from an atom, and you're asking me how to put rear brake in a car?
Yeah.
And I thought he's punking me.
Yeah.
And I'm like going, well, you just take the brake adjuster and you screw it to the rear. And he goes, well, how do you do that? And I'm looking at him still, and I'm going, is the camera on? Or,
Yeah.
is this?
Is he real? Like, no way.
Is this a setup deal, And finally he goes, kid, he goes, the cars I drive got 65 Ford Master Cylinder. We don't got no goddamn brake, adjusters in these cars. I don't know what the hell you're even talking about. I'm like going, oh my God, I'm thinking here's a Winds Cup champion, don't know what a brake adjuster is. And so anyway, it's a Dillon car and it had hanging pedals in it. Well, the knob didn't show front or rear on it. So I'm underneath the dash looking which way the brake lines ran. And people was all like looking at me going, I'm upside down in Erner's car. And they're
Yeah.
looking at me like going, what in the hell is going on here, right? So I put a bunch of rear brake in. He goes out and picks up a couple tenths. I swear to God, he come in the pits and I thought he was going to kiss me. And he goes, what else can you do? And I like, well, I tried to help as much as I could, but he still wasn't very good at it. But the car wasn't right or
Besides
whatever.
giving your car away.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it was just, he just, and then he come to Rockford and I helped him there. And so, in 1976, my mom and dad took me to Daytona for the 500 and I got to watch Pearson and Petty crash coming for the checkered. And I told my mom and dad, I said, I'm going to race here someday.
Yeah.
So, and after 88, when the Busch Series went from the big Monte Carlo bodies down to smaller cars, I said, I want to go run the ARCA race at Daytona. So with Carl building all the Bobby Allison short track motors and things, I thought I was going to be able to buy buy Bobby Ellison's Speedway car. So I called Bobby and I said, how much for your Speedway car? And he goes, 30 grand. I go, I ain't got $3,000. So I said, well, that's out. And Earnhardt gave me his card and he goes, well, if you ever need anything, call me. So yeah, I watched his documentary last night and it was kind of hard to watch because,
Yeah.
end up being pretty good friends and all that whole thing. But so what was ironic about it is I finally got enough balls to call him and I call him, I go, hey, this is such and such from Wisconsin. Do you remember? He goes, well, hell yeah, kid, how the hell you been? And how his accent was. And I go, well, I said, in 1976, I went to Daytona, and I promised my mom and dad I'm going to race at Daytona one day. And I said, I'm trying to buy a Busch Speedway car that be legal for Busch. He goes, well, you know what? He goes, you help me. He said, I'll help you. He said, I'll take the motor out of that thing. You can have the transmission and ran everything for 10 grand. Well, I didn't have 10 grand. So, Mike Carmichael and my buddy that owned the Red Baron Tap in Edgerton borrowed me, I think it was $7,000, and me and Phil Hammer, my crew chief, and Plugger that owned the Red Baron Tap went down to Earnhardt's shop at the old farm, and we're sitting there, and all of a sudden the beer come out and his vodka come out, and we sat there all day. I mean, we got shit faced, and he was telling stories about his mom stealing his her credit card to go to the racetrack, and his whole life story. And next thing, he stands up and he goes, "Hey, you want to see the biggest, blackest son bitch thing you ever seen in your life?" And we're like, okay. So we go over to this sliding doored wall, and there's a farm gate, and there's a coat hanger holding this farm gate, and here's this monster black bull standing there. And I'm looking down, and all that's holding this gate together between that and the bull is a coat hanger. He goes, yeah, I won the Winston 87, and Childress spot me in this bull, and his name's Winston. And I'm like going, oh boy. Well, anyway, my buddy owned Red Baron Tap. Back in the 80s, he had that silky, super silky, red, shiny coat. And that bull kind of looked over and seen him, and that bull snotted on him, and I swear it snotted a gallon.
Oh, man.
And it was running down his coat. And Earnhardt looks over and goes, he don't like red. And I mean, you can't make this stuff up, right?
Oh, man.
And we finished drinking and had raising hell, and we got the car back to shop and got the motor in it. And all of a sudden my dad goes, well, God, he goes, the left side wheelbase is a half inch short. This is wrong, And so we cut the lower A-frame, the struts and everything, and moved it forward and didn't think nothing of it. And then Earnhardt, we met him at Daytona, and he come over and looked at his car. He goes, hey, you guys changed my car. And I would have never bet in a million years he would have never even seen it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, the wheelbase was short, a half inch on the left side. He goes, well, it was a goddamn handful to drive, So anyway, the long story short, we go out and back then you get tire temps and they put your speed on it.
Yeah.
And I walk over to Dale and I go, what about this? And he looked at the thing and he looked at the sheet and he goes, I don't know what the hell you're asking me for. That's 5 miles an hour faster than some bitch I ever drove it. And, because the rules were different.
Yeah.
And he kind of giggled and off we went. And we're in the race and there's 5 of us run up front and Grant Adcox and Tracy Leslie and Red Farmer, I think. And I don't remember. And we all went turn 3 and everybody crashed. And I popped out of it without a scratch. And I'm coasting around turn 4 and I'm in the middle of the racetrack and the pit road's coming up and I got hit wide open from behind by Patty Moise.
Oh no.
I don't know if she's trying to make her lap back up or what was going on, but I'm doing 80 miles an hour, maybe 90. And I mean, she could have went to the left of me or the right of me, but I mean, hit me dead nuts, square, wide open. I mean, her bumper was the back of my seat. And I mean, it destroyed the car. Um, we had to cut the car in half basically to get in the trailer to get home and not having $5 to play with. Um, my buddy owned the junkyard and I called him up and said, "You get old my car out there," and he goes, "I need quarters and deck lid and bumper cover and all this and all that." We cut the car off the roll cage, behind the roll cage, and did the rear clip ourselves. And I said, "You got an old Chevy truck out there, it's got truck arms." And so we got all this stuff, put it back together, and we went to Talladega. And I lost to Tracy Leslie by about 3 foot. And I thought, we didn't know nothing back then. I mean, we didn't have a clue what was going on, but that car was fast and the motor was good. But we rebuilt it ourselves, and we didn't know anything about aero, but
Right.
there was this determination and work and but to fulfill my promise to my mom and dad racing Daytona, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, that is. When then in your life that's determined to do it. And then I said that in my life too. Like I said, I just ran the Busch Series and the Truck Series just a little bit. I did a couple short track races, but one of my goals was to get on Daytona. I never got that chance, but now I just got to work on getting my kid there. But he's determined too. But yeah, that's a cool story. Like I said, I even think of like we build stuff, right? And you build it, and you go to the track, and you build your monster to beat the next guy's monster, and that's just a fun, like I even look at the short track race, and that's still what it is,
Yeah.
and there's still a lot of you, Rich, are like me, my family too. Like us criers, we build stuff. We'll just take whatever car is out there and turn it into something. Versus, nowadays you just go to a manufacturer, you buy the chassis, you bring it home, and this guy tells you to put this shock in it. Make sure you do this, and it's just different. But I mean, it's just where we're at, so it's a little tougher. But yeah,
Well, it's a different world. I mean, we've had, I mean, with Tony at T1, we bought a car from your buddy Campy, and I drove it a couple times. I hated it, and everything Tony builds is basically his own stuff.
yeah,
We get along great. We see eye to eye. He understands what I want, and he knows how to do it. I mean, we've taken cars that. So I tell people, I said the car we destroyed at Slinger in 2021. We should have won a championship. I had fast time that night. We finally put a locker in it, ratchet instead of a spool, and the car was incredible and fast car that Slinger Speedway has ever seen in history at the Nationals that year. But the car got destroyed. But that was an old left-hander center section, and he kind of did his own thing on the tail and put his own clip on it. But what's really ironic is we didn't have a Dell Slinger car after that. And no, I gotta, not saying this is bad, but I mean his shop it's a two-car shop or 3 or 4 with about 20 cars in it. So I had a car that from 2013 that Chad Wood built from Pathfinder. It sat outside his shop for 7 years on jack stands with a tarp over it. Well, after we destroyed that car at Slinger, he calls me and he goes, "Well, what about this old Pathfinder?" I go, "I don't remember even driving the damn thing, And he goes, "Well, I'm going to look at it." And he looks at it and he calls me up. He goes, "Well, I think we can make it work. I'm going to change the front suspension." And he's this, if you see my number now, it's the 45, but you have this crazy squirrel on it. If you look at the number, it looks like a squirrel on it. Well, he's the squirrel, right?
yeah.
So
I like Tony.
he gets it put together, and we go to the Dells for this auto race. And I don't remember what happened qualifying. We started, middle 2/3 way back or whatever, and we made some more change for the race, and all of a sudden this thing is just like unbelievable, and everybody pits us. Well, I'm not pitting us. I'm not even driving this thing. I said, and they put tires on. I don't put tires on. I drive away from the field. I had 2 or 3 tenths left in the hole, and we win this auto race with a car that sat outside on jack stands. And the rotors were junk. The calipers are junk. The brake lines are junk. The cylinders are junk. I mean, they took a day. The car was never painted. They took a day with Scotch-Brite pads and just tried to scratch the rust off all the roll bars in the frame. Think about it. I mean, he's in Illinois,
Yeah.
outside a car under jack stands for 7 years. I mean, people can't even fathom this. You tell them that story, and they're like, "Oh, you're full of shit." No, I'm not full of shit.
Yeah.
This is true.
That's
And so now he's building a brand new car, his own design. He has his own design front clip, and he's redone it a couple times. And we're going to Slinger Nationals, and we went down last week and put a seat in it, and we'll probably be finishing it in the pits on Monday. But either this car, I mean, the stuff he's done to this thing, it's either going to be 2 tenths fast or 2 miles an hour fast in the field, or I tell people we get lap the field twice, or we're going to be horrible. But I think we're going to be really good.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
That
Which, speaking of the Slinger Nationals coming up, you have 4 wins there. You've raced it quite a bit on and can you kind of talk about the old format versus what they're running now?
Well, I mean, it's kind of ironic how it started. So in 1980, Wayne Erickson wanted Trickle to come there and race, and Dick ran, pretty much every night of the week except Tuesdays. And Wayne goes, "Well, if I put a special together, would you come race on Tuesdays?" And he goes, "Well, yeah." So that's how the Slinger Nationals evolved in 1980. And back then, we didn't have pit stops and things like that. Now it's changed, where you have a break and all that. But I was very fortunate to win it 4 times. I mean, I had it won in '94, and Ken Seth wrecked me and passing for the lead, and just in 21 there. If you're 10th fast from somebody's Slinger, it's incredible. I without a legitimate doubt in my mind, we had 4 tenths in the field. We bottomed out qualifying with a new setup, and the race started. I drove from 20th to 4th and 30 laps, and I wasn't even driving the car, and we'll come out and the motor shut off. Well, here the starter stayed engaged after I started the motor and started the race and ran the battery dead.
yeah.
Just crazy things. How cars never break when they're junk. They only
Yeah.
break when they're super fast.
Yeah.
It's automatic. They'll go 5,000 laps. They won't even run out of gas when they're shit. But when they're fast, it's like, I tell people I won 500 features, but probably should have won 5,000 because always something happens.
Yeah. How many DNFs of them ones where you had a fast car? Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The should have ones.
That. Well, Trav. That's pretty cool that Travis and Kelsey they bought Slinger now, and then he's a fellow racer.
Yeah.
They're young. It's cool. I'm excited for that because I said we need that next generation right now. Like, I fear, especially in our state, it's the saddest thing was Wausau closed, right? It's like, okay, we don't need to lose tracks. We have to figure out how to keep them going. And then when I seen Travis and Kelsey bought that track, that was exciting. So what's your thoughts on that?
Oh, I think it's a great thing. They've been around for a long time, and it needed. Wayne, had that in Madison for quite a few years, and sold it to Todd, and now he sold to them, and they're doing a bunch of upgrades, and I think it's gonna keep it going. People have no idea. Slinger is like, the fast quarter mile in the world in 2 grooves, and there's a lot of places you can go out race and have fun, but that place is incredible.
Yeah.
So I'm happy for them. And like you said, Rockford closed, Wausau closed, and Columbus closed. And actually, I had Columbus Speedway bought twice. Oh, I actually had it bought from Shirley Moore. And we went to the closing, and she said, well, I want so much for the announcing system and the truck. And I said, what are you talking about? We already agreed this is all one big pile. And she got mad and left. And then called me like a week later and said, okay, I'll agree to, to do everything for, I spent 20 grand on I had an eighth mile drag strip drew in. I reconfigured the track, made it bigger. I had a motocross four-wheel track made in the back corner,
Yeah.
and so it was kind of ironic. I never had anybody call me about the oval stuff, but I must have had 50 people. I don't even know how they found my phone number. Heard I was building an eighth mile drag strip, and I thought it was a bad thing because I'm thinking it's only an eighth mile. So I'm like, it's probably not going to be good because it couldn't be any bigger. It was not enough slowdown. Not track. The land wasn't big
Yeah.
enough to have enough
For the room.
the
Yeah.
place to slow down. And they're all, no, that's all we want because the drag racing is won the first 60 feet or 60 and whatever. I'm like, I don't know about drag racing, but and so when we go to the closing for the second time, she never showed up and ended up selling it to the state of Wisconsin. They turned it into a police academy place and for
Yeah.
driving or something. And it's like, frustrating. So, but I look back at it, I'm like going, well, I don't know. I mean, I'm mad that I spent 20 grand for nothing, but I'm mad that we lost a racetrack because my dad grew up there, drove for Rod Hyman, to own it. One of my favorite cars my dad drove was the '67 Charger. He had was a metallic blue white top and a gold leaf number 5 with checker flags on the number. And growing up as a kid, that was like my favorite car.
Yeah.
But yeah, just losing these racetracks is tough.
Yeah.
They're I'm Chicagoland and Kentucky and all these places, and they brought back Rockingham and they brought back a few places, but you know,
It is. It's
it's
about.
tough.
Yeah, it is. I loved Columbus. I actually broke the track record in a super late model there during a Wisconsin Challenge Series race, and I remember I was half throttle. I'll never forget it. That's back when we had 4 barrels in the car. And I went half
Mhm.
throttle, and my whole crew was jumping up and down. I'm like, "What are you guys jumping around? Oh, you just broke the track record!" And I was the same way. The reason why, like when I bought Dell's Raceway Park, it was Dell's Motor Speedway, and then remember it went into foreclosure and that whole thing with the guy that had it before, and then I ended up. And of course, that guy owed you money. I remember that. We went up there and raced. It was 10,000 to win, and we had to try to get all our money out of that race that time. But I ended up buying that place off of a courthouse. I'm not even kidding you. We were bidding on a courthouse step in Juneau County, and then bought the track. And
Crazy.
had it a couple years. But I turned it to Dell's Raceway Park. The same thing. I was going to do a motocross, but now Madison Speedway, lacrosse, both are doing that drag strip stuff. Do you see how busy they are?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's
It's beyond
crazy.
nuts, and I would have never ever dreamt. And like I said, all when people call me about the drag thing, I'm like going, they were excited. Like, so it just goes to show you, there's a different, there's more
Yeah,
out there besides our, oval track
yeah,
asphalt world. And everybody knows I'm not a dirt fan, but everybody's got their own gig and their own thing, and
yeah.
the drag race thing was going to be something new to me. And I mean, I mean, if you go to a drag race, I took Darcy to Chicagoland, and we got to stand there at start finish line when the top fuel cars first took off. And I told her, I said, either you're going to poop your pants or have an orgasm. I think she had both at the same time because there's nothing of there's nothing of a feel of top fuel cars or funny cars taking off at the start finish line, and you're standing next to them and you're having 15 or no 30,000 horsepower take off. I mean, the ground shake, and it's beyond unbelievable. If
Yeah,
nobody's ever done that, you have to go to a drag race and feel it and see it for yourself
yeah.
to even imagine what it's like, because there's nothing like it. I've done some crazy cool shit. I've won snowmobile races. I motocrossed, won motocross races. I've ice raced. I was a national roller skating, speed skating champion. I won everything I've ever done. But as far as there's one thing that I had to give Tony Stewart credit for. He's won everything he's ever sat in, and for him to go out there and get on that car, and to win, a top fuel car. I mean that just one time I would like to feel what it feels like to hit that throttle and feel what it takes to go 330 miles an hour in 3.8 seconds.
He was on our podcast, Rich, the week before he won his first drag race.
Yeah.
He was on our podcast for an hour. It was awesome. He was talking about his kid and talking about drag racing, and then he was on then he won that race. It's funny because we kind of had like a
A
thing,
little streak.
a little streak going. So, Rich, you better make sure you're at Slinger because everybody that's done our podcast with us ends up first, second, or third. And I'm not even kidding you. It's been going like that lately. So if that happens, I'll
Well,
remind you that that's Slinger over there.
I'm confident that he will get the car done. and I'm confident that we're going to set a new track record. I mean, Steve Apple went
Yeah.
10.99, and I just have a feeling of what we can put together, and my goal is to run a 1085. So
Yeah.
I'm putting it out there right now.
That's
I thought
badass.
I thought the ASA cars with 4 barrels would be faster, but I mean, with the horsepower and all that, I mean, they had the things on the chips. I mean, they're on the chip before the flag stand,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just so they get in the corner without being so free. But I think with a 2 barrel deal, and it depends. If it's 100 degrees out, it's not going to happen.
Right.
But
Right.
if the weather's right, I think that I ran a 11.10 something there in 21. And this tire's way faster.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that if we hit it right, that's what I'm shooting for.
I remember when we went from 4 barrels. I want to say it was 2001 or 2002. I remember I was racing Madison, and the night we had the 2 barrels on, I'll never forget this. It was like me and Nathan Hosley were pitted next to each other. He ended up breaking the track record, and I think, God, I think it was Ron Breeze was there, or Brian Hoppy, one of them. They were, yeah, I think it was Brian Hoppy. And I remember because I was complaining, because right, we all bought 4 barrels. We all had 4 barrels everywhere we raced. We had a 4 barrel. Then you had a short track one with a long stroke or a slow stroke, and then you had a speedway one with a fast stroke. And then we're going 2 barrel racing. I'm like, what? Now we all got to buy 2 barrels? But when we went 2 barrel racing, every track record got broke, like almost within a month. And I remember that and I remember how, man, you could just push the gas pedal right to the floor now and steer it out of the corner, where the 4 barrel, you still had to roll on the gas. And yeah, I
Well,
remember them days.
well, that's the problem now is that every track and every division and everybody has different rules.
Yeah.
So I've been working on a sponsorship deal for a while and business with Sky, and I said, well, we looked at a schedule to run, and it was like 37 or 38 races, and to be on top of the game with every weight break and every motor combination, you need 6 different motor combinations to be on top of the game. And that's how screwed up this country is. Back in the early days, we went up to the Adams Friendship Golf Course, and we would go in there, and the drivers would make the rules, and pretty much everybody went by what we did around the country.
Yeah.
That's why I got to race at so many different racetracks. It might be a different tire, but the rules were the same. The whole world kind of did what Wisconsin said.
Yeah.
And one of the funny stories is that they had the 4 or 5 guys up front, Clem and them guys, and every year it was like, you had these 3 or 4 drivers up there, and the one year this one guy sat up there and like, who the hell is that? And I kept looking, I'm like going, I couldn't figure out who it was, and then it finally dawned on me. It was Jim Zotter. Well, he was bald and he got a hairpiece. I didn't know who he was. But I mean, it was cool because we're the ones that come to the 9-to-1 rule. We're the one that come up with the 2 barrel rule. I mean, to save money. I mean, it's just and the country kind of did a lot of what we said. It's, now that's out. I mean, everybody's got their own little plan. Every track's
Yeah.
got their own rules, and
It is.
it's sad. I mean,
There is a difference between up, down. I mean, up north, we're 10-inch fuel cells. I know Slinger's changing that. They're just going 8-inch fuel cells and without a weight break. They're just allowing it. So, I mean, in the rest of the country's 8-inch. I mean, Wisconsin's always been 10-inch for the longest time, as far as I can remember. We were 10-inch fuel cells. I never had an 8-inch in, but yeah. So they're like, and we had 2 barrels up there forever. Like I said, I think it was 2001 or 2002. We went to 2 barrels, and then the rest of the country is always kind of on the 4 barrel deal. But not to cut you off here, Rich, but we're 8:15. We had to hit our commercials, and then but we want to have you back on. I think right around Oktoberfest, I'd love to have you back on, and maybe we'll do a live one up at La Crosse. That'd be great, because you have a lot more to talk about, and this is stuff we love.
Yeah, and I think before we let you go, I would like to know a little bit more. You wrote a book recently. What kind of inspired you to write Barnyard to Brickyard?
I just wanted to put the story out there about everything. How did it happen? I guess from stealing the first car of the barn to making the inaugural Brickyard 400. I mean, in 17 years, that there's no way in hell that that happened. But I wanted to put it out there. All the politics in NASCAR.
Yeah.
This story about Darrell Waltrip um, screwing me out of everything, and how when I drove for Rick Hendrick at Pocono, how they made sure we did everything not to make sure we won the race. Um, I'm the only guy that that a banana cost him $8.5 million. That's in the book. I mean that's a story in itself. Um, just and what's funny is the book was so much bigger than that, and we got done with it. We had to take so much out that we probably could have wrote 4 books, kind of like us talking in it. We probably
Yeah.
could talk for 8 hours.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
But but the coolest part about the book thing is, I've not had one person say they didn't love it. And to me made it all worthwhile of spending the money and getting it done. And John Close, I mean, we've been basically brothers our whole lives, and at the racetrack and spottering, and he's my PR guy. And I mean, and he was the perfect guy to write because he was a writer, and he remembers so much more than I remember, and then stuff I remember he didn't remember, and it turned out to be really good. And so we're having a special night for me at Jefferson on July 19th. I
Yeah.
got a new hero card made, and I bought a couple more 100 books, and I'm gonna do autograph session there, and
We're racing
hopefully
Yeah.
out
that
of Lakeland. We're coming. I'm gonna come and hang out with my
well
buddy.
well
That
guess what,
What?
we'll have a beer. We'll have some beer.
for sure. People, Jefferson's awesome. I love that. I was telling the story about Terry Tucker does a good job over there. That place is really nice. You pull in there. I was telling people they have flowers on the telephone poles when you walk in there, paint and everything. It's just a really neat place. And right now they're like he paves the track almost every other year on the corners to change the groove so people are always got something a little different. But where can people get that book? Like right now, to our listeners, where could they get that book, Rich?
I still think it's on Amazon, or they can, contact me. Um, I got, like I said, I got a couple hundred more, but they're still out there. And um, I mean, what's cool is, I mean, I've had probably 50 or 100 people said when they started, they never put it down. They read the whole thing without stopping
Yeah,
Wow.
because they couldn't get enough of it. And that's pretty cool that
yeah,
Yeah,
that
that's really cool.
I didn't, you don't know how it's going to turn out, but I mean, honestly, the story, the banana story, the Waltrip story, I mean, um, the Hendrick story. I mean, I knew when the Hendrick deal happened that I knew I was ending my NASCAR gig, because I thought, my God, we go to Pocono, and when you read it, you can't even fathom what they did to make sure we did not win that race.
yeah,
Um, One of the cool stories is that the shot kid was named Alan Gustafson, which he's the crew chief in a 24 car now, and he was super smart. And I don't know how much time he got left, but anyway, at Pocono that day, I mean, the car is horrible. I mean, it's so tight, and I kept telling the crew chief, Gary Dehart, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, and he's looking at me like going, and I keep saying, okay, change this, change this, change this, change this, do this, do this, do this, and we go out there and we all start getting pretty fast. Well, then qualifying's coming up, but the worst thing is I couldn't practice the car till Terry come to pits. Well, he would come to pits a half hour after practice started on his golf cart. So we only got basically half the practice time. Well, anyway, um, I said, we're qualifying. I split this and this right spring and do this. And he goes, no. I go, what do you mean, no? He goes, I don't want you to wreck my race car. I go, well, do you think I'm that dumb? I'm going to wreck this thing, going in turn one at Pocono. And, and I said, do it. And so he did it. And I kind of babied through one, babied through two, and we qualified like, I don't know, 14th or 15th. But if I knew where the car was going to be, it would be pretty good. Well, in happy hour, Terry's got to drive the car. So he goes out and he makes like, 2 laps at 60 miles an hour, and I get in it and we make some more changes, and we're 3/10 fast from the field in happy hour. So we get to the bar at the motel, and Alan Gustafson, he goes, who are you? I go, what do you mean? He goes, who are you? What are you talking about? He goes, you've told us today what to do this race car more than Terry LeBon has told us in 3 years. Like, what? He
yeah.
goes, we're gonna kick their ass tomorrow. Yeah, we are definitely gonna kick their ass tomorrow. Well, make a long story short, Terry had to start the race. They dropped the green, and he almost got lapped in 5 laps, and the yellow come out, and I took all the padding out of my seat, and because he's way shorter than me, and I got in the car and I went and turn one, the thing drove straight in the fence. I go, "What'd you do to this car?" And he's like, "Well, Terry didn't think it was very good yesterday in happy hour because he had to make a couple laps in happy hour. He wasn't going 60 miles an hour." And I'm like going, "Are you shitting me?"
Yeah.
So another yellow come out later, like 5 laps later. We changed shocks, we changed rear springs, but we couldn't change the sway bar. When we drove back up to the front, the car it's okay, but it's not like it was. And I still think we had a shot at winning the race. And I come in at the last yellow, and I said there's like 10 or 12 laps to us. Give me 2 right side tires, and let me get a shot at this thing. I think we were on the 8th or 9th. And yep, 2 right side tires, 2 right side tires. Well, they jacked the right side up. I'm looking at the right side, and I look in front of me. There's a guy standing in front of me. He got his hand in front of the car, telling me I can't go. One pick for guys. So they put 4 tires on it, come out 22nd. In 11 laps, I drove back up to 11. And I'm like, this is unbelievable. I mean, you guys done everything you could possibly do to make sure we did not win this race.
Yeah.
And the next day I took the seat out of the car myself. And one of the kids that raced Concord was the shop guy there. And I'm looking at him, and he's like telling me to shut up, don't say nothing. Like, what are you talking about? And make a long story short, he lived 30 miles south. He drove to my shop 30 miles north that night. And I go, what the hell's going on? He goes, oh my God, Kellogg's called and wanted to know who this guy was that made the Wins Cup champion look bad. And so Rick Hendrick called down and said, don't talk to him, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So the next weekend we're in Indianapolis, and I'm driving this IWX car, and God, I can't think the name. Anyway, we had an inch and a half drop. Laughlin car was second half faster than his own design car, but we had to bring the slow car back, and I didn't think we were going to make the race. And then John Hendrick, before he got killed in a plane crash, come over to me. He goes, "Hey," he says, "I want you to drive our race car again." I go, "Well, really?" I said, "You guys screwed me last weekend." I said, "If I drive your car, I'm gonna make 50 grand." I said, "I don't think I'm gonna make the race in this car." I said, "But after you screwed me last weekend, you can take your race car and shove it in your ass." And I said, I'm not playing your games." And we went out qualified, and we got a bad drawing at the sun. I missed the race by 7 thousandths of a second. So I tell people 7 thousandths of a second cost me 50 grand.
Yeah.
But I'm a principal guy. I mean, I feel bad he got killed in a plane wreck a couple of years later, but it's like, you know what? You screwed me last weekend, and now you need me. I don't need you. And I'm probably the only guy that's ever told Rick Hendrick and John Hendrick to go get effed, but because everybody knows I never been politically correct, and I tell it the way it is. And it's either you want to race, you want to race, you want to drink beer, you want to drink beer, you want to fight, you want to fight, and that'll never change.
That's
And
awesome. That's why.
you can ask Alex Prunty that story.
I said that's why we love you, man. 'Cause I'm the same way. Me and you got a lot in common in a lot of ways. Just listening a little bit what you said about my NASCAR experience wasn't good, and I don't talk about it. And just because not because we had slower cars or whatnot, nothing like that. I just felt like NASCAR, people don't see behind the scenes of what goes on until you're doing it. And my experience in it was I walked away from it. I had a chance to keep racing the truck and the Busch car, and I took the steer of and saying, man, there's so much Hollywood behind the scenes that people don't realize, and that's the only way I'll say it publicly. But it just, to me, it's
I'll tell it the way it is. I mean, so I always call NASCAR the mafia, their own family member mafia. So in Martinsville '97, the truck was probably 3 to 4 tenths faster than the field. I mean, it was. I mean, I swear to God, I had my super late model there against everybody else. And Dennis Huth, run the truck series at the time, come up to me. He goes, "We know how fast you are. If you stink up the show, we're going to throw the yellow flag. And if you do it again, we're going to throw the red flag. And if you do it the third time, we're going to make sure you don't win this race." And I'm sitting there going, I'm going to lap the fucking field. and I'm not listening to your shit. Anyway, my crew chief Fred, I mean, he's in my ear. Don't, just play the game. So I started the poll. I let Ernie Irvin lead like 65 laps. And I'm so mad. I mean, the steam coming out of my helmet should have been viewed from the stands probably. And finally I told Fred, that's it. So I passed Ernie for the lead, and I'm sitting there out front riding. I mean, I swear to God, I'm running 3/4 throttle at Martinsville. This don't happen, right?
Yeah.
So finally, I get on the radio. Go, Fred, get the stopwatch out. Why? I said, get the stopwatch out. I got pushed the button. I go, Dennis Huth, you can kiss my ass. NASCAR, you can kiss my ass. Blah blah blah. And I'll never forget. I took my right hand and I put it in the window off of turn 4 in the back window at Ernie Irvin. In four laps, I straight away the field. And I'll never forget. Fred's on the radio. Slow that son of a bitch down. They're gonna stick it to us. And I'm on the radio. I don't give a shit. Anyway, I slowed down. I think I went to turn 3. I put it in park and slept for a half hour and let the field catch back up. And I rode around, won the race. And Victory Lane was probably the most disgusting victory I ever had in my life because I couldn't even celebrate because it was like, are you kidding me? Is this what this has come to?
Yeah.
But I knew that before. I mean, after watching the Earnhardt deal, right?
Yeah.
I never was a big Junior fan because I really didn't know him. And after watching that, it was like I got a lot of respect for him when I went through because my dad was the same with me. He'd show you one time and it was it. But when he won the race at Daytona after his dad died,
Yeah.
I mean, everybody in the garage area know he had the plate. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, NASCAR handed it to him. I mean, and I don't take it away from him. He deserves it because I mean, his dad was a god. And I mean, I'd love to do his podcast and talk about the story of me and his dad that day and how that he helped me. But it is what it is.
It is. But I get it. Like I said that. For sure, we'll talk about that some more, but we're gonna have to wrap her up here. Go to a commercial break. But Rich, I want to have you back on for sure. You're definitely what we talk about here. This is the stuff I love, and but we can't thank you enough for coming on for sure.
Thank you.
Well, maybe at Oktoberfest we come up there. We'll sing out.
Yeah,
live.
We'll do a live one. That'd be awesome for sure. Say here
if I'm not in Costa Rica.
Yeah, no, we'll talk about that too. I remember when you and Darcy were talking about Michelle keeps talking about it all the time, but I want to thank our guests and Rich, thank you for coming on. You've always been a good friend and I can't wait to see you at Slinger. We're bringing Kendrick over there and Nick, and we'll be looking forward to hanging out and drinking some beers for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, bud. Hey, thanks for having me on it, and I appreciate all people that are listening and watching. We put it on our end up here, and hopefully a few people up here seen it at the last minute. And
oh yeah, it'll get traction all week long for sure. So,
well, I hope I don't get no.
There's
some people I have no idea.
This is what they need to hear.
Well, yeah, but a lot of people. There's a problem though. A lot of people don't like the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah.
That's the bad part. People don't like the truth, and I hope they don't understand that I'm here telling the truth and not bullshitting. And I give my life for this deal, and between the Waltrip deal and the Pendrick deal, I mean that just ended it for me. I can't play politics. I'm not a politician. I'm a racer.
Yeah, for sure. Well, my friend, we'll catch you on the high side. We'll see you soon, and thank you to our guests, and we'll go off to commercial. Thanks again, Rich.
All right, bud. Have a great night.
Yeah, you too.
Buying or selling a home? It's more than a transaction, it's a strategy. I'm Amy Lynn, and I bring clarity, confidence, and results to your real estate journey. Whether you're searching for the perfect place to call home or preparing to list your home for top dollar, I've got you covered. With smart marketing, strong negotiation, and a network you can trust, I don't just help clients close, I help them win. Let's make your next move the right one.
Hi, my name is Joe Constance with Joe's Racing Products. My company has been producing high-quality racing components in the USA for over 30 years. We know the commitment and determination it takes to win races because we race too. We're determined to produce quality products that can help you get to the finish line first. Ask your dealer for Joe's Racing products or visit us online at joesracing.com.
All right, welcome back to the Let's Talk Short Track Racing podcast. That was a really, really fun interview, very insightful too, learning a lot about his career and NASCAR, and also talking about the Nationals coming up.
His whole life.
Yeah.
Since he was a kid, right?
Yeah.
Like Rich doing that. I mean, you hear that story and his passion for the sport, and then, like I said, that's where I feel like with him, he says it how it is because he's got the history that most people don't have, that the decision making is through guys like that. And people don't reach out. Like I said, me and him have a lot of the same experiences. Like when just listening to him talk, like that's how I felt when I was, and that's why I said, why am I so passionate about short track racing? We don't need that bullshit here.
Yeah.
You know, like I mean that. I feel like in short track racing, it's real. They're families. We're all doing our thing, and I don't even want to, like, I don't get me wrong, I like the NASCAR racing and what it's about and all that, but I just love short track racing. But
Yeah, it's where all the passion is.
Yeah, for
Kind of
sure.
like with the NFL, like college is where the passion is, and once you move up into the NFL, it's more politics than anything.
Yep, exactly.
But yeah, overall, a really fun episode, and excited for next week. We're going to have Mike Garvey on with us.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Another
little sneak preview for next week, so make sure you guys tune in. It's definitely one you don't want to miss.
Yeah, be good.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, it was a long show, but I'm sure you guys were entertained. I was.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't.
Lots
I mean,
of cool stories.
I lost track of the time, but I know we always like to try to keep them an hour, but you just have to. If you shut her down early, just make sure you finish to the end, because at the end there was good.
Yeah.
So
lots of cool stories.
sounds like we got thunder blasting out there, huh?
Yeah. Sounds like we better wrap it up soon, because you won't be able to hear us soon.
Well, thanks to our guests, and thanks
thank you.
to our fans, and we'll see you next time, huh?
Yeah, we will see you next week.
Buying or selling a home? It's more than a transaction, it's a strategy. I'm Amy Lynn, and I bring clarity, confidence, and results to your real estate journey. Whether you're searching for the perfect place to call home or preparing to list your home for top dollar, I've got you covered. With smart marketing, strong negotiation, and a network you can trust, I don't just help clients close, I help them win. Let's make your next move the right one.
Hi, my name is Joe Constance with Joe's Racing Products. My company has been producing high-quality racing components in the USA for over 30 years. We know the commitment and determination it takes to win races because we race too. We're determined to produce quality products that can help you get to the finish line first. Ask your dealer for Joe's Racing Products or visit us online at joesracing.com.